Greetings and bienvenue, midnight crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Okay, our 911 center is part of the city's emergency management building, which just happens to be a nuclear shelter from the 60s. Anyway, I was working there as temp staff, doing clerical work for the 911 center. Shitty job, didn't pay great, and pretty damn soul-crushing because I was transcribing the recorded 911 calls to text. This is before the software did it automatically. Some of them were just absolutely brutal, especially the ones where a kid is calling and begging for help because mommy or daddy is hurting the other parent, or one of their siblings. Domestic violence was by and large the most common call, but a few were break-ins or drug deals gone bad. And I had to listen to each recording from start to finish to transcribe it. I am glad I am gone from there. So, it's 01, and I am working this job I dislike. It's mid-fall, probably early October, and it's been hotter than hell. You'd think it was summer still. Anyway, by early morning, we had been watching the weather reports and we were going to be in for one hell of a pounding that afternoon. They were predicting tornadoes, hail, high winds, torrential rain, the works. Days like this, the 911 center gets busy as hell, and honestly, I was glad to be working 40 feet or 50 underground that day on a volunteer double shift for the money. So, I was busy listening to a call, a domestic between brothers. I remember it clearly, because of what happened in the middle of the transcribing. I heard a commotion out in the call center. I was off in an office where it was quieter so I could hear the playbacks. I get up to see what's wrong. Apparently, all the lines have gone dead, due to the storm they surmise. A lot of calls were cut off in mid-call. So, they fired up the radios, and started dispatching from the radio with what information they had. It was maybe 1:15 p.m. by this time, and the busiest time was coming up. In the midst of clearing all the call information they had on screen, a single phone line chimes in. Sandra, the relatively newest operator, is a little surprised by it, because it has been basically dead for almost 45 minutes by this time. She plugs in her headset, and answers the call. "This is 911. What's your emergency?" is the usual response given. However, she stops just after 911. She quickly calls over Jonathan, the floor supervisor at the time, and tells him to listen in, and she takes off her headset. A big no-no. She asks him before he starts listening if she can excuse herself. She is looking pretty shaken at this point. He waves her off, and cues up, with once again starting off with, "This is," before stopping. Then frantically, he starts saying, "Hello? Hello? Can you come to the phone? Hello?" After a minute or so, he suddenly reaches down, and hits the speaker button so the entire office could hear what he and Sandra just heard. It was screaming. Nothing but screams. It sounded like mid-teens screaming, and not just one or two, but a whole chorus of them. This actually goes on for about another 30 to 45 seconds, long enough for all of us to really register what the fuck was going on. The line suddenly goes dead. After everyone collectively exhaled from holding their breath listening to that horror, Jonathan, ever the professional, goes to Sandra's station and pulls up the call log. Nothing. The call came from nowhere. Now, this was before the system was upgraded to all digital, with the automatic transcription and the digital, so the recording system was still magnetic tape. He rewinds the tape, and sure enough, from the point Sandra answered it until the call ended, there was nothing but screaming, with Sandra and Jonathan's voices the only ones legible. Now, an investigation was launched, diagnostic were run, they called the local phone company and requested call logs, etc. At the time of the call, there was zero service in our area due to the storms. Lightning had struck a main junction, and shorted out a good portion of the city's phone service. Diagnostics turned up nothing wrong with the computers, except they were outdated as hell. Now, here's the eerie as fuck part. It was at the exact time that call came in. This happened about 30 minutes away, link in the description. I found another job a few months after that. Apparently in the renovations and upgrades to the call center, the tapes that had that recording were damaged beyond salvage. They were in the process of digitizing all those to make them compliant with the FOIA requirements. I did some of that work too. I am glad I moved on.
State trooper, driving my usual route on the highway. A little past midnight, roads are mostly empty, very serene and sort of creepy. I like it. See a car pulled off to the side of the road. Finally, something to do. Flashlights, pull up behind it. Start approaching. Realize something is wrong. Don't see any figures in the car. Usually I see silhouettes shifting around trying to hide drugs or get their paperwork or something. Approach slowly, hand on my gun. The car is empty, looks trashed. Like somebody rummaged through it. See spilled soda all over the seats. See a trail of items leading into the woods. Decide to follow it. Gun drawn. Calling out. Saying I'm a state trooper and if anyone needs assistance. Already had called for backup. Follow the trail. Moon is bright and have pretty good visibility. Almost don't need a flashlight, keep walking. See a pair of legs dangling from a tree. Hello. I'm a police officer. We have help on the way. Do you need? Get closer. See blood dripping down the legs. Shine light up. Women with her throat cut, shoved up into a tree. Look around for anyone else or clues. See nothing and backtrack. Probably just nerves but feel like I'm being watched. Don't touch anything in the car, but shine light into it. Not soda stains. Blood stains all over the seats. Never find out who did it. It was some college girl coming home for break. Probably one of the worst things I've seen. I heard a few theories from the detectives but again we never solved it. I still have nightmares about it occasionally.
High school, grew up in a housing development in a pretty forested area. Security guard was always harassing me instead of looking out for copper and tool thieves. One day we were having a little bonfire in the forest, drinking our parents' alcohol with like 6 other kids who also lived in the neighborhood. We are still about a mile from anyone, mind you. We lived on the bottom of the hill and no one lives at the top yet, so once night fell and the construction workers left we would explore the forest, water tower, empty unfinished houses. Everyone gradually goes home cause we have school the next day. I'm up there by myself. Security guard is waiting by my Jeep while I'm leaving. Tells me to stay out of the woods or he will start calling the cops, etc. He makes me walk back and show him that the fire is put out, and right when we get to the little clearing we hear rustling all around us. Sounded like a dozen dogs just circling us. Me and him both just standing there confused with our mag lights and we can't see anything though it sounds crazy. Sound dies, make our way back to the road. Oddly both of our trucks want start. We push start mine, drive him to his little security trailer and tell him to have fun up there all by himself. He quit and was replaced by an even bigger ass.
When I got out of the service I was going to the University of Michigan. Got a decent job as an industrial firefighter at an auto plant in Livonia. Would fit the hours around school, decent pay, etc. Plant was old, from the 30s, and in a bad part of Detroit. I mean bad for Detroit bad. Fences like a supermax prison but to keep people out. 2 fucked up things happened the year I was there. Number 1, when I started I saw flyers mentioning a $5,000 reward. Asked about it, creepy ass story. There had been a security guard there, going to college like me, who worked the dead shifts, Saturday and Sunday nights, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. There were usually only 2 security guards and a firefighter on dead shifts. College kids loved them because we could do our schoolwork. About a year before I started, he got married to some gorgeous girl. He was going to graduate soon and they planned on moving to Canada to be with her family. A few months later, after he had graduated in December and 2 days before his last day, the alarm on door number 2 went off. Door number 2 was just around the corner from the main entrance, about 30 yards down a path. It was an emergency exit from the business offices. It was exit only and really close to the main entrance where the security guard sat, so there was no camera coverage on it. Sometimes a secretary or janitor working late would leave that way and the guard would have to reset the alarm. The guard at the desk sends the guy about to quit. He goes through the hallways because it is December in Michigan and if the door is shut it can't be opened from outside. The alarm doesn't reset. After 45 minutes the main guard locks the main entrance and goes to check out the door. Finds the other guy with his hands zip-tied behind his back and a .22 through the base of his skull. Wife just vanishes, never seen again. Cops find nothing, totally baffled. Reviewing cameras shows someone came in during the day no one recognized who somehow got past security and used a badge to get in. Then hid all day until after hours to kill the guard, and left. Had to know how to duplicate a badge, get in, where to hide, and when he would be the one to answer an alarm and know exactly how to avoid the cameras. Had a beard, sunglasses, baseball cap. About a week before the 1-year anniversary of the murder it is a dead shift. I am in the fire office reading St. Augustine when my radio goes off. The security guard at the front desk wants me. Get there. She is pale and the other guard is there, he's nervous, too. Door number 2 alarms are going off. Me and the second guard decide to check it out together. Turn on all the lights rather than use security lights and flashlights. Get to the door. There are 2 zip ties on the floor just inside the door. Guard resets the alarm. We get out of there, call the cops. They find nothing. Come in for my shift next day. They checked the security camera footage during the day. The same guy had walked in again, just like before. Every guard and all but one firefighter quit over the next month. Number 2 wasn't as spooky, but it was fucked up. I usually worked the second or third shift. Second shift during the week was 50% to 80% production, so there were guards at the gates checking everyone coming in to make sure the locals didn't sneak in. Gatehouses were made of steel and bulletproof glass because of snipers. Yes, fucking really. Used reinforced vans to get guards to and from at shift change or lunch, bathroom breaks. Sometimes I would ride along because I was bored. One night near Halloween we go to the back gate, guard tells us to come see. They used binoculars to watch for people trying to cut through the fences, and showed us about 3 blocks away near an alley. It is a little black girl, who looks about 4 years old, sitting near the entrance to an alley. She was crying a little. This is at about 2 a.m. in Detroit. I ask. The guards already called the cops. I ask if we should go get her. The guards all laugh.
Fuck no, newbie. Just watch.
About 10 minutes later we see flashers from a police car coming from 8 to 9 blocks away. Someone darts out of the alley, grabs the little girl, and runs off. Ask what just happened. The old-timers tell me.
It was a trap. If someone had come to check on that girl, the people in the alley would have jumped them, slit their throat, and robbed them. The kid was bait. That was probably her parents.
Be in Department of Natural Resources Ranger. Off duty, driving around at night. Dark as fuck, middle of the wilderness. CB is still on, start hearing some weird shit. Mumbling and odd, mechanical noises, along with occasional screams. Look down to see that CB is tuned to a normally empty channel. Hairs on the back of my neck stand up. there's a car on the side of the road. I've driven this road 1,000 times before and never seen it. Pull over, keeping my .44 in hand. Walk up to the car. It looks like it's been abandoned for years. Rust everywhere, weeds growing up through the hood, and obvious weathering that could only have happened from it sitting in the same spot for years. Hear crunching just inside the tree-line. There's no wild animals big enough around here to be making noise like that. Get back in truck. CB is getting louder, same kinds of noise, plus what sounds like music. Shine my mag light into the tree-line as I put it in gear. Pair of eyes reflects back at me, easily 7 feet off the ground. CB goes silent. Nope, right the fuck out of there. A few days later, doing a patrol on the same road during the day. Drive past the spot where the car was. Nothing, not even the rust stains on the gravel that had been there only a couple days prior. Never heard that weird shit on the CB again.
I was a park ranger for a few years, mostly to save up some money for grad school. I've got a couple interesting stories, don't know if I'd call them paranormal though. Rotate between 3 parks depending on need. Spending 2 weeks working at the lake with this other guy Tim. Fall, so there's not a whole hell of a lot to do. Decide to drive up around the north end of the lake to say hi to Tim's friend. Friend has a shitty little fishing dock he built since he doesn't like to share with people, technically not allowed, but we really don't care. Have to walk through some forest to get to it. As soon as we get a few feet from the road, see that someone has put up posters on about every 3rd tree. Posters have a picture of a dog with murdered underneath in red letters. Say reward for information. Find Tim's friend and ask him WTF is going on. Another guy on the north end of the lake had his house broken into and his dog was mutilated. Really grisly stuff, like limbs removed. Knife and saw cuts, not an animal. Dude is not taking it well as evidenced by his canvassing of the forest with posters. Talk with local cops on radio, police report already filed. We go talk to him on the premise of telling him not to put posters up, but we're both just curious as all hell. Find a guy sitting on his porch drunk as shit. Give our no littering spiel and he tells us to fuck off. Ask if he knows anything about who might have done it. Just says some strange out-of-towners were hanging around a few days before, goth types. Says since his dog was black it was picked to be sacrificed to Satan. Says he'll shoot them if he sees them again. Maybe a week later we get called in because there's a fire at the abandoned camp area. Don't know why it was closed up, but it's gated off from the main road. Weeds growing up through concrete and structures falling apart, a couple stone buildings are there too. Fire department does all the real work, we say fuck it and come back the next day to catalog damage. The building that was on fire has a fuck ton of pentagrams and shit drawn all over it. Rodent bones everywhere, but could be owls or whatever. Candles and shit on benches. A bunch of Latin shit spray painted on all the remaining buildings. Not a whole lot more ever came of it, and my personal theory was edgy teens, but it started a ton of rumors about a satanic cult in that town.
Stationed in Korea several years ago. Little bullshit camp we do backfill on once in a while. Maybe 150 soldiers staffing it, tops. All over our graves from the Korean War where they just buried bodies where they died. On patrol, 2 a.m. or so. Something moving near the gravesite. I've found soldiers dicking off back there before, going to chase them out. Base, 4 to 10 I'm out at the gravesites, possibly have subjects trespassing. No response, fuck it lazy shits are probably sleeping. Yell at whoever is there. Military police, come out. You aren't under arrest but you need to leave this area. No response, no one comes forward. Fuck it. Probably some drunk. Base, 4 to 10, I'm going to be on foot in the gravesite area.
4 to 10. Control your subjects yelling and repeat your transmission.
Tell base there's no one yelling and I'm alone. No response. Look around for about 20 minutes, no one there, nothing damaged. Base, 4 to 10, I'm clear, resuming active patrol.
4 to 10 return to the station immediately.
Come back to the station. The desk sergeant is livid.
You're out there with a goddamn subject screaming into your mic and we don't hear shit for 20 minutes? That is some bullshit.
Blah 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 ass chewing. Tell him I answered and was calling but got no response. Desk sergeant goes to the radio recorder and uses playback. Hear me calling out when I arrived. Quiet.
More water, more ammo. There, moving north, Sergeant?
It's not my voice, not the dispatcher's, not the desk sergeant. The desk sergeant tells me not to tell anyone about this. The next day, standing order that under no circumstances will anyone enter the Gravesite's area.
Get a private investigator license for my country. Really just something to have in my back pocket while I look for other jobs. Mostly look into cheating spouses, fraud and missing persons. MP's not as exciting as you'd think. Get a call from a pretty rich family that owns a ranch and lots of farmland. Wife thinks husband is cheating, follow him for me, I'll pay you daily. Follow the guy for a little over a week, see him sneaking around with younger bimbos. Give findings back to the wife, she's not even upset, just pissed. Whatever, get paid and get out, not sure whatever happens, but they don't divorce. About a year later I got another call from a big corporate business, looking to take over their farmland. Asked me to do some digging. Fraud, family secrets, if anyone in the family can be bought out. Make it worth my while, double what the family had paid me and offer me a job as a consultant. Sure, why not? Follow the family, know most of the routines from when I worked for them. Typical normal family actually, stupid rich and a little snobby, but nothing out of the ordinary. The company is disappointed but deals a deal. Get paid, tell them the only thing I found odd was their son, who when I worked for the family stuck out. Tell me to go watch him for a bit. Finds he goes to secluded wooded areas by himself, 4 hours, even days. After he leaves one of his usual hangout spots, I want to satisfy my own curiosity. Find nothing, travel deeper. Expecting to see some shack or clubhouse where he jerks off and gets high. Do find a little fort and a mass grave of animals. Cats, dogs, birds, rabbits, even a fish nailed to a tree. Some had collars, checked police records and found a lot of missing animals around his neighborhood going back at least a year. So yeah, I'm pretty convinced this kid is going to shoot up his cool or eat a prostitute at some time in the future. I passed this on to my company, they said they'd look into it, and I don't know what became of it. The family still owns the land.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
First story that comes to mind before my time. So my town is pretty big for my country, around 15,000 people, but there wasn't much crime besides the occasional drunks doing stupid shit, men hitting their wives, pot dealers getting busted, etc. But then a young girl, like 16 years old, went missing. Last seen in the middle of town too, near a store. My dad goes house knocking the first night, and nothing comes up. Weeks pass and she isn't heard from. But eventually a farmer contacts the police about a bunch of black garbage bags that he found in the fields. He had opened them and found body parts. Of course it was the girl. My dad had been one of the first cops on the scene, and verified that yep, that's body parts all right. The head was pretty smushed up, and Dad told me whoever did it had smashed her head in with a hammer. And apparently she had been so severely, her insides were messed up beyond repair. This wasn't something he fondly told me about. I don't think they ever found the guy/s who did it. Another one is less unsettling, sad and more gross. So around the farming communities there's a lot of old people who still manage to handle the farming/live with relatives. Some need special assistance, like handing out medicine or check UPS in case they've fallen and can't get up. I've worked in elderly care and I've met some strange people, but the ones out in the countryside tend to be mostly normal. My dad told me about an old man who lived alone in a relatively populated area, as in, the nearest neighbor was only a kilometer down the dirt road. Apparently he had a history of violence and some form of mental illness, but apparently managed just fine. He had a daughter that did regular check UPS on him, so I guess he was under supervision. But one night she calls the police and is bawling her eyes out. She had arrived after her father had called her at like 2 a.m., screaming obscenities. She had gone over there immediately, which still takes like 20 minutes if you live in the town, and found the front door wide open and him missing. My dad said everyone thought he had had an episode and left to walk around the fields or something in the middle of the night. But they found him rather quickly in the stables. He had managed to cut open his abdomen in there with a kitchen knife and fuck up his guts beyond repair before dying of blood loss. Apparently it was the grossest thing my dad had seen, as he had walked around in there yelling at the horses or something and leaving guts all over the place before collapsing in the dirt. They just labeled it as self-end.
Was sitting in my car finishing a cigarette when a woman came bolting out of my then neighbor's house screaming, "Help me, help," with a truly terrified voice. Instantly got scared, started smoking faster. About 10 seconds of her being outside screaming pass and a man comes out of the house in a long rubber-looking apron and takes her to the floor and drags her inside by her ankles. All the while she's still screaming, "Let me go. Please no. Help." I'm still in my car watching this, just decided nah fuck this cigarette and went inside to call the police. I called the police and told them everything I saw, and within 5 minutes they were down the street in numbers outside of my neighbor's house. Must have been 6 or 7 Colombian pesos cars parked out there. They approached the house, and the guy who was wearing the apron earlier came out and started talking to the cops. A lifted white truck came down the street around this time with people in bed and parked in front of the house. Other cops went up to that car and looked like they were talking, then out of nowhere all the cops, the guys from the white truck, and the apron guy huddled together in a group and started taking selfies. Like the cops were taking selfies with my neighbors, who I'm almost 100% sure make meth. Anyways, the cops just up and left after the picture deal. Always thought that was pretty weird.
This story is real and contains no ghosts, gremlins or ghouls. Just started working security, late shift. For a weird health and wellness center, a medical doctor's office. Spend time with a friend who helped me get the job who is also working there. Exploring the building as security brothers with large flashlights. He tells me about the basement and how he's only gone down once before with the previous superior guard. Says he won't go alone. All right, fuck it. Come to a staircase and an oldest elevator leading to the basement. The staircase had these weird surgical walls, the kind that move around on wheels, blocked around it, so instead we decided to take this creepy-ass elevator. The fucking thing has 2 buttons, floor 1 and basement. Keep our max steel mag lights at the ready to beat some ghosts. The basement is all sorts of weird fucked. It looks like the cross between a mine shaft and a parking garage. And it has no walls except for exterior ones, so the fucking thing is as big as the building, so it's just blackness all around you. The light that was available was by strung up lamp lights. It was full of weird shit. One empty shopping cart was near the middle of the room. One portion had a large 8x8 foot square of bathroom tile and a couple drain holes. The most fucked part was this extra staircase. There was a second fucking basement in this place, but the staircase was all broke as fuck and flooded. The most I could get looks from was bits of rock, a few cracks of darkness and water. There isn't much after that. I did get video and shit of it. I still think of that second basement and wonder what weird shit's in it, and later learned from my dad that it was built on top of an old factory.
Reserve deputy here. I think about getting back into it or some kind of security work a lot. Maybe I will in a few years after work, school pan out. Anyway, get a call with my supervisor since I was a rookie. Kids setting off firecrackers in this vacant field behind a construction site. Arrive on scene, see nobody. Assume they took off when they saw us coming. Do some inspecting where the caller said they heard the firecrackers going off. Smell something weird and kind of gross. Then a bunch of flies fly up off the ground. Inspect closer. 2 severed fingers, a few bullet casings. Supervisor finds a bag of heroin tossed in a trash can a few yards away. Drug deal gone bad. Never found out whose fingers they were. Another domestic disturbance call. Deadbeat dad smacking around the deadbeat mom in a trailer park. They're yelling at each other, trying to tell us all the bad shit they did to get the other one on more trouble. Wife says,
"You oughta see how he treats our kid."
No kid in the trailer. Nothing there to suggest a kid even lives there. Wife takes outside to a shed that was just plywood and a door. 12-year-old girl locked in there. Keep in mind it was summer, so it was like a fucking oven. Arrest them both. They don't even seem fazed. The kid is apparently used to this and thought of it like normal punishment. Pass her off to social services. Only then did she start freaking out and apologizing, thinking it was her fault. Another, probably the worst story I have. Being a sort of cop, you learn to try and make friends with the homeless as they are the eyes and ears of the streets. Become friends with this gay 16-year-old boy. Shit home life. Parents hated him, so he lived in the streets. Sometimes gave us information. Nothing big, just, "Have you heard or seen anything recently?" Get a call that he jumped. Patrol find him in a yard of a squatter's house, beaten to a pulp with a pipe. He later dies in the hospital. A week into the investigation, they find killer, some really dangerous guy with a rap sheet and a prison record of violent crimes. Never officially find out why he killed him. Speculation goes from him knowing the kid sometimes talked to the cops. The guy about to or was committing a crime and the kid was a witness, or just a random thrill kill at the wrong place, wrong time type of thing.
Got told this story by a friend of the family who worked as a law enforcement training contractor in Bosnia in the 90s. Training police, working with Russian contractors with the same objective. Arrest some Slav for cocaine possession. Helping the locals interrogate him to try to find his supplier. Guy won't say shit, refuses to answer any questions. Russians say begging for a crack at him. Fine, good luck. One Russian sits down across from the guy, the other walks around behind him. The guy sitting down calmly asks who his supplier is. Bosnian tells him to fuck off. The other Russian pulls a plastic bat out of his pocket and pulls it over the guy's face and starts strangling him. The other Russian starts screaming at the Bosnian, demanding an answer. The Russian removes the bag. The Bosnian guy tells them who the supplier is. The Russians beat the fuck out of him anyway. Bosnian ended up with a ruptured blood vessel in his eye, a concussion and a broken nose. Russians don't fuck around.
Driving in Mexico. Cops here get minimum wage and make a living on corruption. Mostly prey on rich kids with weed and shit. B18, hotboxing my red BMW with a friend and 2 girls. Have 2 1/2 ounces of weed separated in 4 bags for each of us. Random police stop. Shit, shit, shit. Keep the window closed. Police shines at me, tells me to stop. Lower the window a bit. Immediately smells and tells me to change to the right lane and park. While switching lanes, I crashed into another car from how baked I was. Luckily, the car drives off, probably scared by the cops. We get out of the car, and the girl hides bags inside boxing gloves. They check us, don't check inside gloves. Police tell me,
"You're clean, but you obviously have weed. We're calling a K9 unit and checking the car. Unless you tell us where they are, and we make a deal."
show him an extra mini bag stored inside the butt cheeks that I had. Right after that, other cops open gloves and find the huge stash.
5 bags, 2 ounces. Crossing state lines pretty much means trafficking, jail time.
Jail in Mexico is the worst place on the fucking planet. Officer, how do we solve this dilemma where we both win? He tells me to just drive off with the girls, and leave my friend to get charged, since I was chill. Tell him I can't do that. See my red sports car, little me, 2 ounces of amazing weed.
I want 30,000 pesos.
About 2.3 grand in USD. Negotiate it down to my cell phone and $200. Give him my S4 and he goes with me to the ATM for the money. On ride back, he opens up on how chill I am, he passes me his phone number. Whenever you want to smoke safely here, hit me up. Pulls into his vest pocket and takes out a bag of his weed. I knew his eyes were glossy as fuck.
I can't give you your weed, but this is good shit.
It was bad. And that's Mexico.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.